Hello everybody and welcome back to ZakIsCinema. Today we're going to be reviewing and discussing the movie Rings, which came out in 2017. So if you've been keeping up with the channel here or just finding ZakIsCinema for the very first time, we are off on this beautiful journey, this beautiful random journey of covering the Ring franchise, because one of my goals with starting this channel, and specifically my goal for this year, is to kind of branch out a little bit more, cover more foreign films just for myself personally, and I thought it would make a very fun segment for the channel here. So by the time you're watching this video, we have covered the original 3 Japanese Ring movies, and now we have finally made it to the end of the American Ring franchise with Rings here from 2017. So if you like Ring and have nobody to talk to about this franchise, you have finally found the right place and the right home. So please consider joining here, because without further ado, let's jump into the review and discussion for Rings, starting with the positives or just the things that I enjoyed most about this movie. Now, I know this is kind of a weird way to start my positive section by pointing out that there's really just one standout scene for me in this movie, but it was a standout scene in a movie full of non-standout scenes, so I'm going to talk about it in this section because it was the one scene that I found genuinely creative, creepy, and had a bit of that atmosphere still going for it. And it is the first scene that we see Samara in this movie, the ring girl that is crawling out of the TV, Samara. And we are following this other character that is about to hit their 7-day mark after watching the cursed video here, and she is completely panicking because her time on this earth has finally run out. So she is trying to quickly unplug all the TVs or devices with screens. She eventually tries to rip the TV off the wall to hopefully stop this curse from finally killing her, trying to escape it, ripping that TV off the wall. And Samara in this scene is completely intimidating, and I think it works really well because she still finds a way out and to kill this character. She is crawling out underneath the TV, almost kind of like lifting up a lid or crawling out from underneath a blanket, and you kind of see the TV lift up as she is slowly crawling out. And I really like this scene because it's creative, it's nothing we've really seen before, and I think it's a cool concept and a cool evolution of the concept that we've seen. It almost feels like when Samara is crawling out of this TV and just like slowly standing up, showing her imposing intimidation, it almost felt like a Portal scene out of Endgame where Samara's right there. No matter what you do, the curse is adapting and it's going to come for you. That kind of rhymed and kind of sounded cool, but it's honestly kind of a badass scene, and I wish this movie had more of them. It is just one of those moments that feel creative yet threatening at the same time, and felt like it was a missed opportunity to not go more for that angle here. And this maybe should be in my mixed, but fuck it, I'm gonna throw it in my positives because I don't have too much here, and I want to give this movie credit for at least trying something different, at least in the first half and specifically in the beginning. As messy as it gets, at least in the setup, it doesn't feel like a complete copy and paste of the first 2 American Ring movies, and it still feels different enough compared to our Japanese Ring movies too, at least in the introduction. It introduces new ideas with the curse, just instead of repeating that initial setup and structure right away. For example, the whole idea of Julia sacrificing herself for her boyfriend Holt by watching the tape to have him pass along the curse to her is actually interesting. Something we haven't seen explored too much before in a romantic relationship like this. And instead of being able to make just a normal copy copy, pass it along. The tape and curse kind of change a little bit here. It creates a new version of the tape after it wouldn't let Julia make a copy of the tape. And in this additional new footage and new tape, it gives us new footage and new clues here. And I think it's a genuinely cool concept. It doesn't just introduce this random plot line of a psychic character kind of getting some of these abilities with handing out these answers. So I really did appreciate that here. And unfortunately, that is it for my positives. So let's jump over to my mixed aspects I have for this movie. And one that really stands out to me here is unfortunately the opening sequence, because it is the most frustrating part of this movie. And I remember back in the day when this movie was getting marketed, this was the scene they were really highlighting, and it stuck out to me. Like, I still remember the first time I saw the trailer and saw that and just saw how cool of a concept it really is. But here, unfortunately, they completely waste it, even though the scene alone is a cool scene and kind of works better as this little short within the Ring franchise, if anything. We get this plane sequence where this guy who is cursed, about to hit his 7-day mark, starts freaking out and then randomly explains the tape and the lore and the backstory to this random passenger and talking to her like they're friends. Like, I didn't realize they weren't friends until he walks away and freaks out in the bathroom and she's making comments about it. I'm like, oh, why are you talking to this character like this? I feel like that happens a lot within this franchise, where a lot of the dialogue and explanation of the lore to random people just kind of feels forced and unnatural a bit. But then the movie kind of takes this a step further, and then somehow, unless I missed something, the cursed video somehow starts playing on all the screens in front of people on the plane, like those plane TV screens. I don't know if there's a specific word for it, but it infects the entire plane. And that is a wild idea, like this mass cursed infection we've never seen before. But for me, it really just made no sense. Like, why would the video start playing like this on all the screens like this? Why does Samara suddenly have this level of power? And I don't think before, like other times Samara has come out, there have the cursed video playing, but it doesn't really do that as a way to curse other people in the environment. It just kind of does it away because Samara is coming to kill you. So I don't really understand how she was able to do this. It's kind of implied that everybody was infected and just all died on that plane, and I don't know why she was able to kind of kill everyone on the plane, even though there was just one person who was cursed and hitting his 7-day mark. And a lot of that feels kind of convoluted, a little wishy-washy, of just not really staying true to the movie's lore and established rules. Like, they're stretching it a bit without any real explanation. And my biggest issue with that, I could look past that, but really leads to nothing. It has no grander implication to the rest of this movie. The entire plane incident has no impact moving forward. We immediately shift focus to completely different characters, and the only connection that opening had is that the guy that was cursed on the plane, everyone dies, and I guess years later all his junk is being sold at a garage sale or estate sale, and one of his old VCR players is there with the Ring curse tape in it. So it just feels like this big ambiguous idea that has a lot of cool implications, maybe a new direction of just a bunch of people curse. Like, what are you gonna do with that? It almost kind of felt like they were setting up something Final Destination Bloodlines did with generations of people curse. Like, that's an interesting idea, especially after all those people get off the plane. They're all just spread out to wherever, but the movie never takes time to focus on that or explore that in any meaningful way. So really like the concept, really like it on its surface level, but it leading to nothing and kind of making me confused with the movie not following its own rules left me feeling very mixed here. So with that said, let's jump over to my negatives I have for this movie. And to me, the biggest negative that really stands out to me is the entire subplot with Gabriel and his cult of students that he calls the Sevens. Like, even talking about this out loud, it sounds so silly. It is genuinely one of the dumbest concepts I've ever seen in a horror movie, but specifically with this franchise. I just don't understand how you have this college professor recruiting students to watch the curse tape after he was initially cursed, and he bills it as some weird experiment trying to prove the existence of the soul, the human soul, and the afterlife. But when you stop to think about it, it really does not make a lot of sense, and they don't really try to make a lot of sense of it. For example, why did that cursed videotape, and once he figured out what was going on, which they don't even stop to explain how he figured all that out anyways, but why would this video make him believe that? What was the actual goal of this experiment? Like, how did he know when things were going to be finished? I know it's very unethical and underground anyway, so he probably didn't really care about that, but I'm like, what's your end goal here? Like, you kind of already have the proof. What's the idea of continuing this on with this entire cult of students, and what is the end game to all of this? The movie never really stops to answer any of that. Gabriel never really takes time to explain any of that, and the logic just kind of starts to fall apart a little bit. He has this system where each person needs a tail, which he uses that word as someone to pass the curse along to. So whoever makes a copy shows it to someone, that's your tail. But why are these students relying on him for this? To me, I don't know if it's just because I'm unethical or something, or just not thinking with empathy, but there's a couple of these movies in this franchise that show this, like someone struggling to pass the curse along. But to me, I don't know if it's messed up to say this, but I think it would be the easiest thing in the world to show this tape to anybody, like literally anybody. I can literally go across the street to my local corner store and talk to the cashier that I have a friendly relationship with and just be like, here, check this out. And she would sit down, she would watch enough of it to get the curse, and then I'd be like, okay, sorry about that, buddy. You're gonna have to pass that curse along, so let me show you what to do. I could walk up to anybody on the street, and I would say 90% of them would watch this, and it's so easy to just kind of keep passing it to where you have to go through 8 billion people for the last person on earth to be stuck with it, and one sacrifice doesn't seem like a whole big deal in the grand scheme of things. So I don't know if it's fucked up for me to admit that, but I just can't get behind these characters like panicking to find somebody, and specifically with this movie, why they're all relying on Gabriel. Like, it would be so easy, especially in a college setting. I mean, the person you're sitting next to in your lecture, just be like, yo, bro, check out this video, and then you're done. You got your tail. You can now indict them into the cult. Why is Gabriel responsible for everybody? And what is he doing? Like, what is he doing? Is he explaining this to the tails? And is that why he's finding it so difficult? Because he's explaining it first and everyone backs out? It just seems so convoluted here. All these students, including Holt, the other girl we were talking about with Smart crawling out of her TV, are just sitting around panicking, like waiting on eggshells. It's like trying to create this false sense of a ticking time element or tension, just waiting for this creepy professor dude to assign someone to them, and it makes no sense. And on top of that, why would anyone trust this guy? Why wouldn't somebody call the police and be like, hey, yo, my professor told me to go underneath the college and he has a bunch of other college kids there. You might want to look into this. And what are they even gaining from this? He is not paying anybody. He isn't offering anything to them. There's no incentive, no realism, and no logic holding any of this together here. So that just all felt so strange to me. And it's just nothing I could really get invested in. And especially because, again, almost like the movie's opening, this Gabriel plotline leads to nothing, has no implication on the rest of the movie, and it starts as soon as Gabriel dies, and that's when the movie kind of just gives up on anything unique and just turns into a standard Ring movie again. And even Gabriel's death is a little confusing because it's already established he passed the curse along, so he's good, but It never explains if he died from the curse, if it was really just a random accident, if he already passed the curse on. Why does it really matter? Like, why did he die? It just feels sloppy and inconsistent again with its own rules. And from that point on, the movie just unfortunately feels so repetitive, to the point I wikied this movie afterwards to see if this was considered a remake because it never references anything, and they follow story beats like beat by beat. We get the new footage angle, which in this one, like I was praising, a little bit different. You know, we get Julia and her tape kind of makes a new copy of her tape, so gives a little new information, but we've seen that kind of play out in other movies from a different angle. So we follow that point, discovering new footage, treat it as clues. We've seen that before. Go on a scavenger hunt and uncover a new detail of Samara's past. And that is beat for beat what all of these movies have done, but this movie is just trying to bill it as something new when it's really not. And it just starts to feel like a remake instead of a sequel. The movie barely acknowledges the rest of the franchise, like I was saying, and even starts to feel like it almost kind of just gets bogged down in contradictions, not following its own rules, and retconning elements from its previous films. We're reintroduced to Samara's backstory again to find out there's a new hidden element again, which this is the third time we've done this, and now with added details about her biological father, who is a priest who assaulted her mother and is Samara's bio father. And it is presented as this huge revelation, but really doesn't add anything meaningful. We already knew Samara was pretty messed up and came from a pretty messed up family, adopted into this messed up family. So just having bio dad there, it's like, okay, cool. Like, we all knew she had a bio dad. It doesn't really add anything that he is also this creepy, unhinged priest. Like, it's like, okay, cool. Did we really need a whole movie for that? It just kind of makes the movie and the story here feel way more convoluted without really being anything deep or meaningful. And my biggest issue with this is once we kind of get into the third act, it plays out exactly like the first Ring movie did and the original Japanese Ring movie did, and even down to the same mistakes and same exact ending. Julia thinks she is helping Samara by freeing her, and we've seen that mistake play out so many times, only to have Julia realize by the end of the movie she made a huge mistake. We've already seen this, so instead of feeling like a twist, it's just recycled storytelling. And on top of that, the characters just don't really help this movie at all. The acting is pretty rough, very wooden. I blame that a lot on the script, but even the actors' performance just feels disconnected and comes off like no one really wanted to be there. And Julia, her actress, isn't the best and makes some incredibly frustrating decisions. One of the worst examples is later on, halfway through the movie, she pretends to be asleep or sick. I can't really remember. Her boyfriend leaves to go get some food, and then she decides to maybe fake being tired and goes to investigate the creepy church and the creepy priest guy, and ends up in the basement by herself. And there's no logical reason why she needed to do that on her own. She's just jumping into this situation. Her boyfriend clearly knows maybe a little bit more about this, and they've been doing everything together. So for her to just be alone for no reason is a huge plot convenience here. And it just feels like the movie at that point is just forcing danger, forcing tension instead of earning it, and it leaves me hating all the characters. And on top of that, the movie just really has no mystery, no atmosphere, and nothing genuinely scary. It just reuses plot points we've seen in this franchise almost beat for beat without adding anything new or impactful here. So with all that said, I will say that overall the movie Rings is a messy, unoriginal sequel that introduces a few interesting ideas but quickly abandons them, falling back into repetitive storytelling with weak characters and almost none of the atmosphere or fear that made the original so effective. So with that said, I will say for my rating for this movie, this is a movie I gotta get off my buddy's Plex server immediately. I will never watch this movie again, never rent it, never illegally torrent this movie again, because there is no reason to watch this movie again. So I'm feeling kind of frustrated here. I know I did this franchise review series for myself, but this has been a slog to kind of get through. We have a couple really standout movies in here that I'm going to be eternally grateful that I've been exposed to, but the rest of the franchise, just every sequel just feels missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity. When it's frustrating because I feel like this franchise almost kind of like shot itself in the foot and really limited itself, when I felt like there was a lot of interesting things they could have done, just never really chose to. So sorry for that little rant here, but you guys have my thoughts on Rings. Let me know what you think about the movie Rings. Kind of give me your brief summary or brief review on the franchise down below. Look forward to some more Ring content coming very soon here. So that's about it. I appreciate anybody watching my videos, so thank you so much. And yeah, look forward to more ZakIsCinema coming very soon.